Welcome to Clause 8, the #1 podcast on intellectual property, trusted by top in-house counsel, judges, and policymakers worldwide. Hosted by Eli Mazur, we bring you in-depth conversations with the personality shaping IP. Brought to you by TradeSpace, where ideas take flight.
So I guess for people less familiar about tax transfer and so forth, can you tell us a little bit about how does the ecosystem work from your perspective? I guess at a high level, from what I understand, the universities get money from the government and then they end up filing patents and they license them. But what is the purpose of that? And I guess, can you provide your overview, I guess, of how all that works?
Well, let me start from the real basic part, which is that university researchers are there to do research around their area of interest, and their motivation to date has been to publish in their field and expand the scope of research in their field. So when a professor is going up for tenure or something like that, they get rated and judged on how many papers they published, how many critical reviews of those papers have been received. What is their status in the publication community seems to be more weighty than patents. Okay, so there's the first thing. Of course, I'm trying to encourage patents to be part of that process as well, as are many of us. When it comes to the funding, after World War II, this country made a conscious decision to put basic research into universities instead of keeping it in the government area. The UK, for example, put it more in government labs. US put them more in universities, with the idea that expanding the footprint of research would benefit all of the communities and also elevate research writ large. And we committed to that. And I think Condoleezza Rice said this in an interview about a month or two ago, that ship has kind of sailed. We're committed to that now. So when it comes to the funding, it's coming from a few places. First of all, some universities have some funding that they reinvest in their own research. There is also a lot of funding, especially in recent years, that's come from the NIH and the NSF, the National Science Foundation, and government federally funded areas, including defense has been a huge one as well. There is private investment too. And right now, universities are exploring private investment a lot more, given some of the recent policy changes. My point is, not all research is federally funded, but a lot of it is.
How has that decision played out? The fact that like you said, after World War II, the government decided to, fund research at universities. What has been the impact of that, and how has
It's been interesting. I think through 1980, and that's a watershed date for a reason I'll explain in a second, the federally funded research did not go very far. As far as getting research out of the university and into the marketplace. They were doing great things. They were building great innovations, but they tended to stay on the shelf. And one of the reasons that our Congress perceived then in 1980 that was happening was because the government was too centrally located and frankly too bureaucratic to actually get the products from these small research universities out onto the marketplace. So Vannevar Bush and Bayh-Dole, Senator Bayh and Senator Dole, came together and put together the Bayh-Dole Act, which said that federally funded research could be commercialized not at the federal level, but at the local university level. And that was the birth of tech transfer right there. And not only could the universities commercialize those innovations, they could feed that whatever revenue they received back in to feed the research back in the university. So that investment went out to the communities in the form of getting products out to the communities, building businesses in the communities, jobs in the communities, and then whatever little money trickled back in was reinvested back into the research to keep that cycle going. So that was a huge shift in consciousness right there. And I mean, the statistics, I have to look at my notes here because I did write them down. From 1996 to 2020, universities sparked about 554,000 inventions, 18,000 startups, and boosted the economy by $1.9 trillion. That is a huge success.